I just wanted to train in peace. But this woman decided that my mere existence was a problem. First, she complained that I looked too much. Then she tried to kick me out of the gym. And when none of that worked, she called 911 saying I was harassing her. Now I was surrounded by police officers, trying to understand how a workout had turned into such a nightmare. I always thought the gym was one of the few places where you could just put on your headphones, focus on your workout, and ignore the rest of the world. But apparently, not even that is allowed. The morning was normal. I arrived at the gym, did my stretching, put on a workout playlist, and started my bodybuilding circuit. Everything went smoothly. No confusion, no unnecessary social interactions. Then, out of nowhere, I realized I was being stared at. I was standing in the mirror, checking my posture during the exercise, when I noticed a woman a few meters behind me looking at me as if I had just committed a war crime. It wasn't a casual look. It was the look of someone who has already decided that you have done something wrong, even if you don't even know what. I ignored it and carried on. I moved over to the treadmill and set the incline to maximum, trying to focus on my workout and forget about the creature's presence. But it wasn't long before I noticed her again. The woman walked up to the instructor and started whispering with an indignant look on her face, throwing quick glances in my direction. All I could think was, my God, what now? I carried on training, but the feeling of being watched was impossible to ignore. A few minutes later, the instructor himself came up to me, a little nonplussed. Dude, there's a girl who says you're looking at her funny. I stopped the exercise on the spot. Looking? Looked when? I'd barely noticed her before the murderous look she gave me. I'm literally just practicing, I replied, trying not to laugh at the absurdity of the situation. The instructor sighed and shrugged. I could tell that even he didn't really believe it. I know, bro, but she's complaining, so just try to avoid any glances in her direction. Now I had to calculate how far my vision was going. It was like those stealth missions in video games where, if you look the wrong way, an alarm goes off and everyone comes to arrest you. But good. I decided to continue my training, now looking straight into nothing, just to avoid any more headaches. But, of course, that wasn't enough for her, because 5 minutes later, this woman picked up her cell phone and dialed 911. I didn't even know what was happening until I saw 2 other gym-goers exchanging nervous glances and whispering. It wasn't until I heard, "Yes, he's here now," that I realized she was reporting me to the police. And it was at that moment that I realized that my workout was about to turn into a police event. The gym was too quiet. People who had previously been focused on their own workouts were now casting discreet glances in my direction, as if they were watching a live episode of 24-Hour Police. I tried to continue my workout, but it was impossible to ignore the woman holding her cell phone with a "society do something" expression on her face. She spoke quietly, but it was impossible not to hear a few loose phrases. "You keep looking. I feel threatened." I could have laughed at the absurdity of the situation if it hadn't been for the fact that she was calling the police. I felt a chill run down my spine. Was I about to be arrested for working out? What exactly would the charge be? A man dares to exist in a gym and breathe the same air as a good citizen? It wasn't 5 minutes before the door to the gym opened and 2 policemen walked in. At that moment, I had a thought I never thought I'd have. I'm going to be on the news because of an alleged treadmill crime. The woman immediately raised her arm, drawing the officer's attention as if she were reporting a robbery in progress. She pointed at me and started talking in an exaggerated way, gesticulating as if she had just escaped a terrorist attack. The policeman, who clearly had much more important things to do, took a deep breath and walked over to me. One of them looked me up and down with that "What the hell is going on here?" face before speaking, trying to sound professional but clearly frustrated. "Sir, we received a call about an incident involving you. Can we talk for a moment?" I looked at the policeman, then at the woman, then at the policeman again. Could it be that if I ran for the exit, they would follow? I took a deep breath and did what any sensible person would do in such a situation. I stood completely still, like an animal trying to camouflage itself so as not to be noticed by predators. This couldn't be happening. I just wanted to train, maybe build up some muscles, and live my life. Now I was standing there, about to be booked as the first man in history to be charged with overattendance at a gym. My mind began to process all the possible consequences. Were they going to take me out in handcuffs? Were they going to search my record and discover that I had once returned a library book a day late? The woman was still standing to the side, with her arms crossed and an expression of pure satisfaction. She really believed she had won. The problem was that I had no idea how to prove that I was doing absolutely nothing. If there was ever a time in my life when I should rethink my choices, this was it. Standing in the middle of the gym, surrounded by police officers, while a woman tried to frame me for absolutely nothing. My mind was spinning. How could I prove my innocence? How could I convince someone that I simply wasn't looking at her? Should I start walking around with a camera on my forehead to record every second of my day? The policemen looked at me with tired expressions, as if they knew they were wasting their time. But, by protocol, they still had to deal with it. One of them turned to the woman, trying to better understand the emergency situation. "Ma'am, can you tell us exactly what happened?" She stepped forward, already preparing to give her big speech. It was as if she was about to receive an Oscar for Best Dramatic Performance in an Academy Award-winning motion picture. This man was staring at me the whole time, following me from device to device. I felt threatened and had no choice but to call the police. I wanted to laugh. Following me? Woman, I hardly knew you existed until you started this staring spree. The policeman let out an almost imperceptible sigh, which made me sure he wasn't buying her story either. But he had to do his job. Then he turned to me. "Sir, what do you have to say about this?" Oh, what did I have to say? I had a lot to say. I wanted to ask if this was a prank, if I was being tested by society to see how far my patience went. I wanted an award for not having freaked out yet, but I took a deep breath and answered as objectively and civilly as possible. I was training. That was all. A silence fell. The policeman looked at the woman. Then he looked at me. Then at the gym. That's when one of the instructors, who had probably noticed the joke and decided to put an end to it, approached with his arms crossed. He pointed to the corner of the ceiling. The cameras. He didn't need to say anything. That gesture alone made the woman's expression change instantly. That was it. The game was over. I didn't need to prove anything. The cameras would speak for me. The silence that filled the gym was almost poetic. The woman, who until 5 seconds ago was puffing out her chest as if she were a heroine about to defeat a villain, now looked nervous. But where's that confidence from before? Where's that triumphant look of someone who thought she was going to drag me into a cell because I had the audacity to work out in the same gym as her? The officers looked at each other and then at the instructor, who was pointing at the security cameras. Finally, one of the officers turned to the woman and asked, "Would you like us to check the recordings?" I swear I saw the color fade from her face. She stammered. She tried to disguise it. She looked around as if she expected a hole to open up in the ground and swallow her up. But surprise! The hole didn't come. And me? Oh, I just crossed my arms and waited. If there was ever a moment of silent glory in a man's life, this was it. Finally, after an embarrassing silence, the woman sniffed and tried to hold her pose. No need. I just felt uncomfortable, but it's all over now. Gone? Now it had become a joke. After calling the police, trying to frame me and practically humiliating me in front of the whole gym, now it was just an, "Oh, never mind." One of the policemen massaged his temples, clearly out of patience with the joke. The other sighed tiredly and put away the notebook where he would probably write down the statement. They knew. Everyone knew. The woman made it all up, and now that she was cornered, she was trying to play it off as if she had simply confused the situation. But no, it wasn't confusion. It was ego She thought the world revolved around her. She thought that any glance within 5 meters was forced adoration. She thought she could joke about a serious report just because she had a stardom attack. But now, with reality hitting her in the face, she had nowhere else to run. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Her embarrassment was already the perfect punishment. The policeman looked at me and gave a slight nod, as if to say, "You can go. This is over." And then, in the most pathetic way possible, the woman picked up her water bottle, pretended nothing had happened, and left the gym with her dignity dragging on the floor. The woman left the gym with quick steps, trying to look dignified, but the damage had already been done. Everyone had seen. Everyone knew that she had made up a false report and called the police on a whim. And me? Oh, I stayed. Because, unlike her, I had nothing to hide. The police were still there, talking amongst themselves, probably trying to understand how a simple workout had turned into an emergency call. Meanwhile, the other gym-goers looked at each other, exchanging glances that said exactly the same thing. What the hell was that? And then something interesting happened. The instructor who had been pointing at the cameras approached and spoke quietly to me, not wanting to attract too much attention. She does that all the time. That took me by surprise. What do you mean, does it straight? He explained that it wasn't the first time this woman had made trouble. She had complained about other people at the gym before, always claiming that they were looking too much, stalking, or being invasive, and always without proof. This time, the difference was that she decided to go too far and involved the police. I wanted to laugh. So, in short, she was practically the inspector of other people's eyes? Did she think she could decide who was paying attention to her and who wasn't? But, of course, this prank came at a price. The following week, she was banned from the gym. I found out when I arrived for training and saw one of the staff exchanging glances with a colleague before whispering to me, "She can't come in here anymore. After what she's done, the manager has decided she's not welcome." Well, I'd say it was a fair ending, because at the end of the day, the truth always comes out. And this time, it came in the form of security cameras and a good dose of karma. I got on with my life, kept training, and never had to deal with this crazy woman again. But every time I see someone in the gym looking around a bit paranoid, I always think, I hope that person doesn't think they're the protagonist of the universe. Have you ever met someone who thinks the world revolves around them and wants to ruin other people's lives? Let me know in the comments. And if you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like it. It helps me a lot to bring you more stories like this. Want to watch more? Click on the card and marathon the next ones. See you in the next video.